Structures of the brain. The surface of the brain, known as the cerebral cortex, is very uneven, characterized by a distinctive pattern of folds or bumps, known as gyri, singular gyrus, and grooves, known as sulci, singular sulcus, shown in the figure on the screen. These gyri and sulci form important landmarks that allow us to separate the brain into functional centers. The most prominent sulcus, known as the longitudinal fissure, is the deep groove that separates the brain into two halves or hemispheres, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. The two hemispheres are connected by a thick band of neural fibers known as the corpus callosum, consisting of about 200 million axons. The corpus callosum allows the two hemispheres to communicate with each other and allows for information being processed on one side of the brain to be shared with the other side. The two hemispheres of the cerebral cortex are part of the forebrain, which is the largest part of the brain. The forebrain contains the cerebral cortex and a number of other structures that lie beneath the cortex, subcortical structures. The thalamus, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the limbic system. The cerebral cortex, which is the outer surface of the brain, is associated with higher level processes, such as consciousness, thought, emotion, reasoning, language, and memory. Each cerebral hemisphere can be subdivided into 4 lobes, each associated with different functions. Lobes of the brain. The 4 lobes of the brain are the frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital lobes. The frontal lobe is located in the forward part of the brain, located behind your forehead. The frontal lobe is involved in reasoning, motor control, emotion, and language. It contains the motor cortex, which is involved in planning and coordinating movement, the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for higher level cognitive functioning, and Broca's area, which is essential for language production. The brain's parietal lobe is located immediately behind the frontal lobe and is involved in processing information from the body's senses. It contains the somatosensory cortex, which is essential for processing sensory information from across the body, such as touch, temperature, and pain. The temporal lobe is located on the side of the head. Temporal means near the temples, and is associated with hearing, memory, emotion, and some aspects of language. The auditory cortex, the main area responsible for processing auditory information, is located within the temporal lobe. Wernicke's area, important for speech comprehension, is also located here. Whereas individuals with damage to Broca's area have difficulty producing language, those with damage to Wernicke's area can produce sensible language, but they are unable to understand it. The occipital lobe is located at the very back of the brain and contains the primary visual cortex, which is responsible for interpreting incoming visual information. Other areas of the forebrain. Other areas of the forebrain located beneath the cerebral cortex include the thalamus and the limbic system. The thalamus is a sensory relay for the brain. All of our senses, with the exception of smell, are routed through the thalamus before being directed to other areas of the brain for processing. The limbic system is involved in processing both emotion and memory. Interestingly, the sense of smell projects directly to the limbic system. Therefore, not surprisingly, smell can evoke emotional responses in ways that other sensory modalities cannot. The limbic system is made up of a number of different structures, but 3 of the most important are the hippocampus, the amygdala, and the hypothalamus. The hippocampus is an essential structure for learning and memory. The amygdala is involved in our experience of emotion and in tying emotional meaning to our memories. The hypothalamus regulates a number of homeostatic processes, including the regulation of body temperature, appetite, and blood pressure. The hypothalamus also serves as an interface between the nervous system and the endocrine system, and in the regulation of sexual motivation and behavior.